Welcome to 30 Minute Reviews. I am Adam. You know, there was something else about the Academy Awards that kind of tickled me the wrong way. And I know that this is kind of a small gripe in the grand scheme of things. But this happened during the, when they announced Best Animated Feature. Now look, here's the thing. We can't put aside the fact that Disney very obviously has an active hand in how the award show is handled. Which feels not right. I don't know what the solution is, because I feel like the Academy should move it off of ABC, because if you look at the decisions that have been made, they've been made with a slant to make Disney look better. Look at which categories got cut. I feel like had, the Disney animated short that went before Encanto got nominated for Best Animated Short, I feel like that would have made the live broadcast. And I feel like had Isa Tammy Faye not come out and Cruella was the makeup and hairstyling favorite, makeup and hairstyling would have made the live broadcast while costuming did. Because it seems kind of arbitrary they would pick that, but costuming go live. And that's just costuming. Cruella had a very good chance of winning, which it ended up winning. Now, looking at all of this and all of that, it makes. I understand why this happened. Disney, when they were announcing Best Animated Feature, brought out Naomi Scott, who you may know from Power Rangers. She played Kimberly in the new Power Rangers reboot, which I will always sing the praises of that movie. It is not terrible, and it's one of those things where it's like it didn't get a fair shake, I don't think. But she also played Princess Jasmine in in Aladdin. They brought out Halle Bailey, who is playing Ariel in the impending Little Mermaid movie that is allegedly coming. And they brought out Lily James, who, on top of playing Pamela Anderson in Pam and Tommy on Hulu, also played Cinderella when they did the live-action Cinderella, which is really their second or third foray into the live-action remake. Because really the first one was Alice in Wonderland, when they did the Johnny Depp, Tim Burton, Alice in Wonderland movie. The second would be Maleficent, and then they bring up, her. And look, I get it. I'm a little confused as to why they would give Rachel Zegler her own thing and not include her in that. It's because, she's playing Snow White, and Snow White is the first Disney princess. But either way, including her there would have required maybe 2 or 3 more sentences of, talking that wouldn't have been where she didn't. Either way, moving on. So all of this happens, and they do all this, and the way it's scripted, because I don't think that Naomi Scott and Halle Bailey and Lily James were the ones who wrote this, because 9 times out of 10, when they get up there and they're doing the introduction to the category, the person who's doing the intro, like Chris Rock ad-libbed his infamous comment about Jada Pinkett Smith. But what was said about documentaries after that, which everyone kind of forgets about because he was introducing Best Documentary Feature, what was said about documentaries after that is kind of is scripted. It's flowery language by some writer who is we're going to talk about how great documentaries are, how important documentaries are, and all of that. Maybe he'll put his own spin on it, but that's kind of, done. So they introduced Best Animated Feature, and I think rightfully it was kind of, the animation community was kind of put off. Oh, you're writing us off as just schlock for kids, and that's not the case. It's people made good points. It's well, during COVID, the only only thing that was able to stay working in the middle of the pandemic to keep the industry solvent was animation. And to dismiss it outright and be like, oh, well, it's for kids, it's this, it's dismissive in a real way. It's just, it comes off as disrespectful. And I think they have a right to be angry. And the thing is, too, it's like, look, I don't know who it was. Like, I don't want to blame the three presenters and be like, oh, it was their fault. Like, because I don't know if it was their fault. I don't know if it was, like, if they wrote that line or if someone else wrote the line. It kind of screams of someone else wrote the line. Because the way it was worded and how in sync the three were doing it. And, there's a teleprompter in front of them. In that world, I think that, someone else wrote the lines for them. But it's one of those things where it's like the theme of this year's Oscars, aside from the slap, the theme of this year's Oscars has been put down the below-the-line people. The people who make movies happen. Because, look, here's the thing. We can sit here, and it's like, they always do, like, these little jokes about costuming. It's like, if it weren't for the costuming people, we'd all be naked. Ha, 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 ha. Like, and it's like, but the thing is, it's like, there's a joke to that. But at the same time, the costuming department is still really important for creating an immersive experience. Now, I know costuming was done live, because Disney had something in serious contention. But all the categories that Dune ended up sweeping, film editing, all these other, production design, all these other things, Disney didn't really have a leg in the race in any meaningful way. And I realized they couldn't cut visual effects, but to cut score, that's fucking ridiculous. And that's straight, like, how do you cut score and sound? Like, and put both of them there. And it's like, look, these are important positions. These are important roles when a movie is being made, because if these are not done well, like, that's the thing. Best film editing is hard to tell. It's hard to tell when a film is edited well unless there's something really, really special about it, like Birdman or The Revenant, or any of these movies that have these really long, sweeping takes, or do something really visually inventive with editing. It's easy to tell bad editing. Like, we can look at, Liam Neeson jumping over a fence and requiring 17 cuts to get over that fence, and be like, oh, that's poor editing. But, most editing is good editing, because you won't notice it. It just becomes, when you notice it, that's when it becomes bad. These are all very important positions that are getting, shuffled away, where they're not showing the complete acceptance speeches of people who won these awards. And by the way, to say that animation is purely for kids, like, look at this year's nominees. Look at this year's, winner for Best Animated Short. The Windshield Wiper is not for kids. There's some explicit graphic, nudity in it, but it's also the best animated short of the year. Bestia is majorly fucked up. Like, majorly fucked up. And it was in contention for Best Animated Short. Also graphic and also kind of fucked up was Affairs of the Art. But also not for kids. Now, there was I don't think there was any nudity in Box Ballet, but if you were to make the case to someone that Box Ballet is for kids, I think that it would be, like, it feels like an Adult Swim cartoon almost. And then if you look at, like, all the other things that have happened in animation in recent years, where it's like, look at, like, the impact that, like, Rick and Morty has had, or the impact of Family Guy, or The Simpsons, which is the longest running show on television, and to be like, oh, well, these are for kids, it's dismissive. It's dismissive to say that the medium is purely to cater to children, when there is so much more animation out there, especially considering that one of the most inventive was a strong contender, I think, this year. I think that Flea would have won an Academy Award if it weren't so thinly spread going into the award ceremony. Like, because it was in animated feature and documentary and international film, it was going to have a very hard chance winning because of how, different it is. But it was one of the best uses of animation of the year. And to say that, like, it's not, it is not, like, it's a better movie than Encanto, certainly, but Encanto was going to win because everyone knows Encanto. And it's like, oh, okay, that's Disney's big movie of the year, alright, Encanto wins. And it's like, well, here's the thing. When Disney's got 3 of the 5 nominees, and Disney basically includes the category every year, that can create the illusion that it is a genre for children. But, I mean, really, animation isn't even a genre. Animation's a medium, and what you do with the medium is up to you. And it's like Anomalisa is a great movie, and that's an animated movie. There are so many very well-made, animated movies that are not explicitly for kids. And to say, like, oh, well, it's for kids, I don't think it's any of the women who are up there's fault. I think they were just reading the lines they were given, and I think the lines are just poorly written lines about, what this is. I think that to blame them is unfair. That said, it is part of a wider issue the Academy is having. And I think that Wanda Sykes pointed out early on in the broadcast when she said, like, we love IATSE. And it's like, well, do you, though? Because this is the year that IATSE was going to go on strike for poor wages and all of that. Like, there was a very real chance in the middle of the football season that there was going to be no live sporting events, and there was going to be a lot of fuck-ups during live sporting events if they did get around to coming out, because people, the skilled labor that goes into camera work and gaffing and everything else that goes into filmmaking, like, all of that would have gone away when IATSE went on strike, and all of these things were forced to handle scabs to cover the positions. Like, it would have been catastrophic, but because they reached an agreement, it's okay. And then to be like, okay, and now we're going to take all of these, and over the years they've slowly been doing this, like sound mixing and sound editing being consolidated into one category is not accurate to how the process works. Because sound mixing and sound editing are two very different skill sets, which is why if you look back, it's not like the same person gets nominated for sound mixing and sound editing. It's a different job to mix the audio and to edit the audio. It's two very different things. It's part of a broader thing where it's like, if it's not a live action drama or a live action, like even a live action comedy, if it's not live action for adults, it's kind of, and it's not the A-list talent involved, the Academy doesn't really care. Like, I think there's a reason why they put the supporting actress and supporting actor first, and then put lead actor, lead actress toward the end of the broadcast. And I think that's just because they feel that, they feel that if you look at what they think of these positions, it is, it is because they feel this way about these positions that they are putting them the way they are. And look, the fact that they have to cut these things out, but we get these lengthy diatribes of just nonsense. Like, and the thing is, too, it's like making a joke about The Last Duel. Like, that was something that happened right before the slap. And I think that had the slap not happened, I think Amy Schumer would be rightfully getting a lot more shit for some of the stunts she pulled during this. Where it's like, it's just not funny. Like, the idea of her, what's it called? Like, she's going around, she's like, we're going to give away something that no one has seen. The movie The Last Duel. And it's like, come on. Like, it's so dismissive. And the thing is, too, it's like, of all the movies you could have picked last year, that's the one you're going to pick? The movie about a woman who got raped, and then tried to come forward with her story, and her husband was too proud, so he ends up dueling to the death. Like, that's the one that you're going to hang up as your movie that no one saw, really? And it's like, you're gonna attack Ridley Scott, like, one of the, like, the guy's fucking 90 years old and still making movies better than anyone on the planet probably could. Like, he is still a talent into and of himself, and he's the one you're gonna attack. Like, come on. Like, and then, like, her whole thing with Jesse Plemons, and that came after the slap, so it kind of got overshadowed by the slap. But her going over to Kristen Dunst and shooing her away as a seat filler is just kind of like I'm like, I'm sorry, who the fuck are you? Like, it's just kind of like, all of that happens, and then Regina Hall's way too long COVID testing bit, where it's like, we gotta test all of these guys. Oh, you're single, alright, come here, we got swabbed. Like, come on, like, that's 6 minutes. Like, they spent on that joke. They spent 6 minutes on that bit. And it's like, how the fuck do you go a half hour over? It's like, it's so self-involved and stupid, and it's like, and I think it's not even self-involved in that it's about the movies. It's self-involved in that it's about the people, the famous people who are there to get attention. Like, it is so bizarre to me on so many levels. Like, just let the show happen. Let the, like, I don't understand. Like, just put out a press release with all the award winners. Like, here's who won the Academy Awards. Have a great evening. Like, just do that. Or if you're gonna do this, like, it's so totally dissonant. It's just ridiculous. Oh, and then the whole thing with the Academy Museum taking up another 5 minutes, and it's like, you could have done, like, it doesn't need to be a joke all the way through. It's like, we spent a lot of money on this museum, so we're just gonna, we're gonna go on a tour of the museum. Like, okay, cool. That would have been cool. And then the whole thing with the Ukraine, that was fucked up. Where it's like, and then after, it's like, inside the $115,000 gift bag that they gave out, and it's like, well, why don't you guys tell, like, I said this during the broadcast when I was watching it with my sister. I said, why don't they just take those gift bags that they give to the losers, and instead of putting the $110,000 or $115,000 into these gift bags for the people who didn't win, why don't they just give it to the Ukraine? And my sister goes, well, they could always, I mean, the gift bags, there's mostly stuff donated by companies to be in the gift bag. And I'm like, okay, well, the Academy doesn't have to accept it. The Academy can just say, hey, take that money and donate it to the effort in the Ukraine. And then we'll make a list of everyone who donated, and then we will, and it's like, they could have done that. And it's like a bunch of very rich people who on the most affluent night of the year, like the night of the most conspicuous consumption of the year, is out there like, come on guys, give a little to help with the Ukraine. And I'm not saying Mila Kunis is the problem, because she raised like $25 million, her and Ashton Kutcher, which I guess pronounced like Kevin Malone, but like the whole thing is fucking ridiculous. Like, I don't know, it is so self-involved, and it's kind of like, Amy Schumer was like, we should get Zelensky on. I read that, and I'm like, that's the cringiest fucking thing I have ever read and I have ever seen in my life. Like, this guy's in the middle of a fucking war zone, and it's like, let's have him come into the Oscars, guys. Like, no. Like, what the fuck? it's just terrible. It's just all around just a terrible, like, experience, like, the way they handled it. And it's like, look, it's like, after watching it and after watching it last year, I'm like, why are people coming back to watch it? Like, who's going to watch it this year and then next year go back to watch it again? I mean, how many people who watched it this year were there because of the, what's it called? Were there because of the, like, you know, the Oscar, the retrospective of The Godfather, and the other one, the retrospective of James Bond. Which again, there was no reason why No Time to Die had to be its own performance when they did a James Bond retrospective. The whole thing's fucking ridiculous. So we'll wrap up there for today. If you go over to Beware of Spoilers, we have a review up, spoiler-free, of Moon Knight, the first 4 episodes. I'm very excited for this show, and we'll be back with more news as it happens. And on Beware of Spoilers, we have Moon Knight, we have The Dropout, we have that new show about the girl who convinced her boyfriend to kill himself, and The Flash on a weekly basis, plus any new release movies. So this week, Morbius. So until then, have a great rest of your week.